There were two deadly shootings, one on August 16th and one on September 8th, both within 1 mile radius of last night's. You see that there's a pile of rubble, a building, and there are smokestacks that are still here that need to be cleared away. There are signs that say abortion is a healthcare and keep your laws off my body. Michigan City Police are investigating a shooting that's left one person dead and another injured. A motor vehicle crash this morning resulted in minor injuries and a broken AEP utility pole. We recently got here, and when we were pulling into the driveway, there are multiple fire trucks, probably 5 or 6 fire trucks. There are downed tree limbs as well as full-size trees, as you see right next to me. Now, I got a chance to speak with the man who owns the home right here, and honestly, he's just grateful that he was not home when this tree went down. Going through the residential streets, could not see where they stopped or where they started. We are on a bridge on County Road 17 overlooking the washout, and toll road officials are trying to keep drivers as far away as possible. Traffic is flowing, but it's going very slow. On the maps, you can see red and yellow. The town of Walkerton is farming the sun. I'm WSBT 22's Paige Barnes. I'll tell you about how this farm can power the entire town coming up at 5. Pro-choice demonstrators say that abortion rights equal health care rights. I'm WSBT 22's Paige Barnes. Coming up at 6, what Democratic state lawmakers are doing to prevent abortion from being banned entirely throughout the state. Thankfully, today we don't have any rain because happening tonight, get ready for more 4th of July fireworks. Today should be a great day to grill too.
Yes, and earlier in the show we were talking about it being National
Cheeseburger Day.
So
Paige, the surveillance camera appears to also show the clerk throwing something away.
The attorney for St. Joseph County Clerk Rita Glenn, who a Democrat, says she was throwing away trash, not voters' ballots. St. Joseph County Republicans say they don't know what was thrown away. Instead, they say County Clerk Rita Glenn accessing the ballot storage room raises questions.
If a reasonable person who would watch the video the night before the primary would look at that and have questions. So we're just bringing it to the public's attention.
Former Republican election board member Ben Horvath says the video is part of a larger investigation into who could get in the room. Leading up to the primary, Glenn claimed Horvath wouldn't respond to her request to access the room. So instead, she entered the room with another Republican staff member with the spare key. Indiana election law states a member from each party must be present when someone enters the storage room.
So I requested the video just out of interest of, confirming, and we didn't know. I mean, we're not saying that there was absolutely fraud or anything like that.
Rita Glenn's attorney, Jim Corpel, argues Glenn tossed out partially empty ballot printer rolls and cardboard and stresses she was allowed to be inside the room alone.
All of the ballots at that particular time on the video, there are no ballots in that room. They'd already been removed to be sorted for central count.
Indiana law says mail-in ballots can be immediately processed when they're received. Depending on the county, they can begin counting them 6 a.m. on Election Day or immediately after the poll books show they received the ballot.
You can send all these 2-minute videos that you can't see what's happening and make all kind of claims that are that's exactly what they are, claims, frivolous claims.
Glenn's attorney says she's already met with state police about the investigation. When I asked what would close the investigation, a spokesperson for Indiana State Police said that they can't comment on an active investigation, but all findings will be sent to the county prosecutor's office. Carter was buckled in the car still, and his mom says that he was screaming and crying, but will be okay. Now, the suspect had abandoned the car. The search for 1-year-old Carter Wilson could have ended in tragedy. Instead, using mom Kayla Van Winkle's cell phone that was left in the car, police were able to track the stolen vehicle.
It pinged a couple different locations and then it actually pinged back here, so they definitely weren't here to begin with. They came later.
The family lives on Cushing Street. The missing car was discovered 2 blocks over on Cottage Grove Avenue. Kayla says she was bringing their other child inside the house when the next thing she knew, her car was stolen with her baby inside.
Extremely overwhelmed, very, very relieved. Can't even really describe, but very, very relieved. Thanking for a good outcome. We are just hugging and holding today.
I think we've had enough excitement.
Yeah, with our new celebrity.
It was Carter's older sister who discovered the 2011 silver Malibu in the alley.
I was actually surprised that I found the car because This has never happened to me before.
And it should never happen again.
South Bend police have processed the car for fingerprints and asked neighbors for doorbell footage. They are not able to comment on the suspect's motive.
I believe they drove off and then they realized that he was in the car and then they brought him back to the closest location because he was asleep when it happened. So, yeah, 6:50 this morning. So.
Kayla says she's grateful for the community jumping on the search so quickly. Police officers even helped on their own time.
The material thing part about the car, that's the first thing from my mind. When I first found out about it, I jumped on my motorcycle and been riding around looking, you know.
As of right now, police have not made any arrests. And again, if you have doorbell footage of the 2011 silver Malibu with license plate 618CMB, that is 618CMB, please share it with police. Live in South Bend, I'm Paige Barnes, WSBT 22 News. When Jackie became involved in politics full force, the two had to put the nonprofit on the back burner. Through it, the two grew closer in their faith and service to the community. The seed of Impact International Ministries began on Jackie and Dean Swihart's first date. Dean says he threw out the idea of selling all their belongings and moving overseas to become missionaries. To his surprise, Jackie welcomed the idea. Eventually, the two took their first missionary trip to Romania. Saying it was rough, though, is an understatement.
But we both said, oh, thank you, God, for getting me out of here. I never want to come back here again, ever. And the Lord spoke to me and the Lord spoke to Jackie at the same time.
They didn't plan on going back full time, but he says the pastor who helped coordinate their first trip needed their help again.
Would you two consider going over to Romania and working with that place? And we started laughing, and he couldn't figure out why we were laughing. And we said, oh, we've known for 6 months or a year we're going back. We just didn't know how, what capacity.
There were hiccups establishing themselves in Romania. The two pushed through and ended up spending 4 years there. They had established Impact International Ministries in the U.S. in 2001 and extended its footprint overseas.
We ran a leadership training institute, and so the materials for that were purchased for that. When we were getting medical treatment for people, we paid for it.
Dean says as he carries a track baton, the foundation is his race that he must finish out, just like his wife running for Congress.
Not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. And then it's signed Paul the Apostle and Jackie Walorski Swihart. Because it's my turn to run the race.
Dean says he's ready for the foundation and its impact to grow leaps and bounds. All that energy he and his wife applied to run for Congress will be directed toward providing humanitarian relief and spreading their faith. At-home COVID-19 tests are convenient, but how reliable are they? One health director I spoke to says she recommends them, but people need to follow the directions to a T. The victim says she set up her hammock off the nature trails around 6 p.m. Then when she was trying to leave a little while after, that's when she says a man in a white shirt approached her. The next thing she remembers is waking up on the ground in pain. It's really wet out here, almost like a really heavy rain, and the snow is building up on the roads, but it's really sloshy. It's the cheese that goes crunch. Well, in this case, it's the dog that goes woof. After the break, we introduce you to Cheeto in our weekly Adopt a Pet segment.